The humanity has been left behind. And hang it in the Louvre. Fires for the end zone. Shore picked off. Ball game.
Hello, good people. Welcome back for Season 2, Episode 51 of White Noise Sports with Tanner Whites. Last week, we kicked off, no pun intended, with the Cowboys' Brandon Aubrey perched precariously at the top of the kicker market in the NFL. Then the United Football League made some highly experimental and super cool, unique rule changes that they're trialing for this year. And we wrapped up by predicting NBA awards as the eligibility thresholds hold back some of the game's biggest stars. And this week, it's been a long time coming, but I am so glad to welcome back a returning guest for a topic I am very excited about and I've been holding on to for quite a while. We're probably going to carry this over into two parts. It's the NBA Hall of Fame tier list featuring my old friend and college football teammate Isaiah Fleming. Apologies if it sounds a little bit different or if the quality is a little bit off from what you've come to expect. Just had to change up our recording setup a little bit in order to do everything that I wanted. Nonetheless, without further ado, here it is. The NBA Hall of Fame tier list of active players. And so we welcome back for the first time in a long time, frankly, far too long, Isaiah Fleming. My brother, how have you been?
I'm good, Tanner. It's great to be back. How are you doing, man?
Outstanding. We were trying to, we were chopping it up before we went on air and trying to figure out when the heck the last time was that we saw each other. Shame on me. It was like football season 2024, dude. That's frankly unacceptable on my part.
It goes both ways. It goes both ways, but I've been watching what you're doing, man. I'm always keeping tracks on the strength competitions and your work commentating, man. You're doing a great job, and I'm happy for you.
Hey, thanks so much, man. Today, we are back with the tier lists. It's been quite a while. I would be lying to you if I said I knew exactly when it was that we did the NFL Hall of Fame tier list, but I can tell you that was one of my absolute favorite episodes of all time. And today, the NBA, I think you should be, I don't want to say even more excited. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but man, I'm excited.
Yeah, we got some great people to look at, guys that we grew up watching and idolizing and wanting to be like. And even though we were football guys, you can always appreciate a GOAT.
And you know what? That's so funny because it's just destined to be here. That was what I called that first tier. That was a kind of my favorite three-letter term ever, the GTD or the game time decision. But I flipped it right before we were about to get into this. I said, originally I called this the LeBron tier, and I was going to keep LeBron in there all by himself. Not going to do that now because I flipped it to GOAT tier. All right, so you know how the tier lists work, right? I introduce the tier. We say kind of, okay, who might belong in it? What are we looking for within the tier? And then give you the names, facts about them, and those kind of things. And then we make that final determination. Hey, is this guy a little bit too high, too low, or is he just right? The really, really easy one at the very top of GOAT tier, it is LeBron James. This should be like a 2-second conversation, right?
Yeah, there's not much to talk about. His resume speaks for itself.
Nah, brother, that's been signed and sealed for when you think about it, maybe the moment he left Miami kind of thing. You get multiple championships past that point, right? There was one in Cleveland when he came back, right, and one in the bubble.
That was with the Lakers. Was the bubble?
Yeah, that's right. Did he also win when he came back to Cleveland? Yeah, it had to have been. And so you add that all up still, regardless of kind of everything beyond that point. But 10 years in, it was already just signed, sealed, delivered. Almost every record now that matters out of the career stuff. But just a few things with the 4 rings total, 4 MVPs, with finals MVP in all of those wins, 22 years of an all-star. It is LeBron James. It is one of the most automatic player resumes that's ever lived. I mean, any sport maybe besides Tom Brady, he's in 10 years ago. I put Steph Curry in the GOAT tier too. It's not the holistic impact that LeBron's had, but the greatest three-point shooter and probably the greatest free throw shooter of all time. I know it's an underappreciated part of the game in general, but who could possibly be better as a shooter, and how could we have a better shooter in history?
It's funny. I was thinking about him earlier today, and he was a guy that he struggled at first with injuries and adjusting to the game. His body wasn't there yet, and not only did he he changed the way the game is played at all levels nowadays. And to have that type of impact, he deserves to be there, no doubt.
And so I think that that's where GOAT tier ends. I don't think that there's anybody else who, a reminder, this is active players. So
Yeah.
when you had somebody, maybe if you recently retired, or somebody that you try to squeeze in here, that actually caused me to change the list a little bit. Funny on as we get later down with Chris Paul, because I said, well, he is retired, right? I mean, he officially did the whole deal, and like I had to pull him essentially off the list. I think I might have left him in, but we'll get down there. And again, active players here. That's all for GOAT tier. That's the easiest tier you're ever going to have, and we're pretty much in agreement on that.
100%.
Lock tier coming up next. This is fun, but the number one thing I like about all these guys is longevity. James Harden, this is good 3 at the top to start it off. James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant. And
The
stop me if you
OKC,
hear anything that's strange or weird.
the OKC days, man.
Doesn't it give you chills just remembering all those guys and then now where they've all gone and had these sagas? It's insane where they started.
KD is like on a 3-game tear or 4-game tear of scoring 25 plus and 30 plus in 2 of those games. And the man is like almost like people forget how old he is now. Still a walking bucket.
Yeah, they're all still around in the first place. I mean, that's kind of tough to do when you start looking at like, okay, the games played and the pure longevity of all of these guys. They're now accumulators, but of course, Kevin Durant is still one of the best players and one of the best scorers around. It's insane the way that he's stuck around for this year and how he's performed this year on another new team, with Houston.
Yeah, no matter where he's at, it's the Durantula, and
Yeah.
it's like you would have thought that we'd never see something like that again, and then boom, here comes a guy named Victor Wembanyama, who's a different play style, but that body type of lengthy, athletic, can put it on the floor, can dunk on you, can shoot over you. These guys are insane that we've had the ability to watch growing up.
And that's not everybody out of this lock tier. It's, I mean, arguably saving the best for almost last here with the Joker, right? Nikola Jokic. Oh boy, I'm tempted to say like right now, all of these guys retire, and there's one more coming here in the tier. I'm tempted to say right now, all of these guys retire, and Jokic gets maybe the highest percentage. It's recency bias too, right? I mean, 3 MVPs out of the last 5 years. He won a ring in there, and then the whole averaging like a 30-point triple double thing is supposed to be impossible all the time, always, and then he's almost done that 2 years in a row. Nothing about that's it's ever going to make sense.
None of it. But the dude is so good. He's like so entertaining to watch as well. He's so good, and it's like he's dominated these last few years in a way that like no one thought like could happen with how athletic the game is. But he just does it every night. He's like if him and the Nuggets could maybe make another run towards a finals, towards a championship, he
Right.
would be a person I think in contention for that first tier we talked about, the GOAT tier.
Interesting. Interesting for sure because all of the individual stats and just the scoring, the rebounds, assists, the obvious stuff from the box score is already there and is going to be there because he's kind of the best of all time at filling up the box score, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe with another ring, I mean, especially another 2 rings,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he can get to,
probably
but
not.
you hear these former NBA guys talk about him. They put him up there, so what we're saying isn't anything crazy. They put him up there, and they were his peers, and they know what it takes. So I don't know, man. If him and Jamal Murray make another run
Right.
at a championship, that would be something that we'd have to talk about at a later date.
Yeah. And at minimum, I think you're talking Mount Rushmore type of deal.
I think so.
Yeah. The final guy that rounds out my lock tier, again, these are if you never played another minute, if you retired right now, you're in. Giannis.
Yeah, the
It's
Greeks.
tougher.
What do you think is tough about it?
So him and Jokic are almost the exact same age. That actually kind of blew my mind. You're 2 months or so age difference between them. I don't think there's anybody who's ever going to argue that Giannis is more accomplished or Giannis is a more complete basketball player, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're just two different styles. I think they both have a weakness, but if you talk about all around guys, I think Jokic is that guy
Right.
between the two.
Yeah. Giannis still has the 2 MVPs in, and that helps his case. He has the unbelievable, the 30-plus point seasons, I think 3 of them. It would help probably Giannis to be able to shoot. I mean, he's just frankly has not been an outside shooter and never really will be at this point in his career. You
Yeah.
can say, okay, he does contribute more defensively, and I'd probably agree with that. But yeah, like you say, that's not Jokic's job is to be your, you know, old timey can't move 5 who eats up the space and blocks shots. Like there's so much more to him.
Yeah, there is. It's but Giannis too. This being Giannis, his game has come a long way. Even from when he like first established himself as a superstar, his game is still evolving. And you can't forget on our list here. I don't see you mention. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Giannis is a champion as well.
You're exactly right. If I did miss that, shame on me.
Champion.
And of course, has to put the franchise on his shoulders really often now. Ever since the Chris Middleton deal,
Yeah,
don't even ask me about that, dude. Because Chris Middleton's he's still a bucket.
he is. And is he in New Orleans now?
Oh boy, where did he go at the last deadline? It was originally the Wizards. Yeah,
He's
it was
still.
Washington and then Dallas. At the deadline was moved again, I think, for this year.
Oh,
So now in Dallas.
Can we talk about one that you may have glanced over, and I think not only you would glance over, but I think a lot of people would like to glance over.
Hey, I bet you there's some that I missed completely. I wish you would. Go ahead.
Maybe I'm a little biased here, but
Yeah.
Russell Westbrook. I see his name. You
Okay.
you have his name there. You that is respectful.
Okay.
But
It is
Russell
entirely
Westbrook,
possible that I kind of skipped over this in talking about the biggest one I do think is Jokic still. But so you think Westbrook's still a lock right now if he never plays another minute?
lock right now if he doesn't play another minute. He averaged a triple double for about 2.5 years. The only thing that he missing is that winning season, that full put together season, that championship season. And his game has degraded a little bit, but he's older. He was a guy that always relied on his athleticism. That's the first thing to go. Can't beat Father Time, but
Yep.
Russell Westbrook was a dominant force after Kevin Durant left for multiple years in the league, and he like I said, a little biased, but that's a guy I think that's right there in that lock tier that deserves to be there.
It's funny, he has more games played too. Of course, people say, okay, old man Harden now. And by the way, James Harden also playing fantastic this year still. But
Yes,
Westbrook's got more games played than him. He's got more games played than Durant. And they're all getting up there in age. But he has stuck around better than anybody. And he is another one of those accumulator types. But even so, yeah, you're right with his prime probably locking him in a couple of years ago. It's like, okay, you could move him a little bit up. These aren't necessarily in order within the tier,
for
right?
sure.
It's just, okay, once you get into the tier you're in. But I definitely think you can't move him down. Yeah, I think you're right. The all-time record for the triple doubles, whether you want to talk about stat padding or not, I don't really because, man, a stat sheet's a stat sheet and you can't change it after the game, right?
No, you can't. No, you can't. You can say what you want, but the numbers don't lie.
Yeah. Is there anybody that I definitely missed that is right now never plays another game? They retire as we speak and they get in today's NBA.
Yes,
There is. Interesting.
and you have him in the next tier below that we'll get to, but I think he
Interesting.
should be moved up a tier.
Okay. All right. You ready for virtual locks?
Yeah, I'm ready for Vert. Well, did you want to talk about our friend Chris Paul, Mr.
Okay.
State Farm?
Okay. That's right. I did include him here with the because I knew it was in here somewhere. And so I mentioned that I was leaning towards yes with Chris Paul because I did have him at the bottom of this tier, and then I was planning to take him out, and now he is officially retired, and so that's not what the whole purpose usually of the tier list is because we like to do active players, but it's
He was
awkward.
active half the season.
Yeah, right. I mean, he played a good deal of this season and should have probably had a bigger role when he
Yeah,
was on the floor.
yeah. But I mean, I think you have him placed perfectly. I think talk about that. He's not. He's probably. I don't see him playing again.
Yeah, probably
and
not.
he's regarded as one of the better point guards in the last 30 so years. So I think you got him right where he should be.
Okay. I struggle to see a reason to why he would try and get, some veteran mercenary deal next year. I mean, you're probably talking like practically a minimum and wasn't super effective with the Spurs. Yeah, but even so, I think that stuck around. Sometimes was the number one guy, sometimes was a number 2 or 3 or more, and
Yeah,
just always produced.
yeah, he did. One series that comes to mind was when he was with the Houston Rockets, and they had the Warriors on the heels in the prime of the Warriors, and then Chris Paul turned his ankle. I think they were up 3-2 in the series, and they were playing Game 6 in Golden State.
Mm.
And I don't know if you remember, I think we were in the dorms together watching those games,
And you're
and
probably right. That's wild.
he tore it out. He not he didn't. I don't know what he did, but he turned something, hurt something, and he was out for the rest of the series. Warriors came back down 3-2. I think to make it to their whatever consecutive
Yeah,
finals.
however many.
Yeah,
I feel
yeah,
that. I think we are in agreement in insofar as we're fudging the rules a little bit, but it's still Chris Paul. He's still the point god.
yeah.
All right. So, is there anybody else active who must be up a tier?
Up a tier
Yeah.
from the virtual lock tier.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can glance down at it, right? You can go ahead and cheat, as I always do.
I would say Kawhi Leonard, the Claw. I think if he never played again, he's a lock.
Man,
Multi-time
really.
champion.
Yeah, it's true.
An absolute. I don't know if you see what he's doing. He's another one of these guys that's aged, battled a lot of injuries. I know he had a weird spurt for a couple of years, but look what he's doing even now.
He
This
is
dude
going
is
off.
insane.
Yeah.
He is fun to watch. He's been a dog. He doesn't say much. Stays out the media. He's a guy right now. Like he got 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, multi-time All Star, multiple Finals MVPs. Like Steph Curry doesn't even have multiple Finals MVPs.
That
Like which
is
is odd.
strange. Yeah, when you say it like that, right? That he's almost a better postseason player than Steph. And you're like, wait a minute. The Warriors have been, always in the playoffs and they had these insane runs and they had the best regular season of all time not that long ago, 1 decade ago. But
Yes.
yeah, maybe he's a better postseason player and that probably matters more. We had talked about that. I'm trying to think who the best example was that we used in the NFL tier list, but it was Super Bowl MVP versus the regular season MVP. And same thing here with finals and regular season. It's like, I do think that you probably have to weight that finals MVP more, literally, than a whole regular season of dominance. It probably matters more for your legacy, not for not for what happens at the time and how people talk about you that season or the season after, but for a legacy.
100%. Like the legacy. That's what they judge you by when you're done. So his resume stacks up with everybody. He is one heck of a basketball player. So regardless if he's better or not than some of these guys, I
Yeah,
think that's everyone's opinion. But at the end of the day, it talk about that group that is in that needs to be that person that needs to be moved up a group
yeah.
who's in that lock. If he didn't play basketball after this season, is he going to be a Hall of Famer? Now, if you're asking me, is he going to be a first ballot in the NBA Hall of Fame? Now that's a different debate. But when you
True.
talk about being in the room and being a Hall of Famer, he's one of those guys.
Okay. It's time to unveil the rest of the virtual locks. That was a really good one to start with and a super interesting one. I see 780 games played in 13 years, and I start doing the math. I say, well, that's not ideal, but on a per game impact basis in the big games, yeah, Kawhi is that guy and has been and will be.
Yeah, the games is a little bit of an issue, but
Well, if
man,
there's other guys on this list that are going to be exactly the same thing.
yep, 100%.
So let's have them out for the virtual lock tier as I see it. The top goes like this: Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Draymond Green, and Dame Lillard. So if you've got to take one guy, and let's say Kawhi's off this, let's say we put him in lock because I know what you mean on that. If you have to take one guy here in virtual lock and say, okay, they are the best player and they're the closest to Hall of Famer right now, who is it? You can
Based
say the
on this
oldest
list,
guy. You can say the oldest guy because I think that makes a lot of sense.
yeah, you can. I think Draymond Green is gonna be in there. I think he might be a couple years down the road, like in terms of years on the ballot. But
Mm-hmm.
I think when you talk about like what you're remembered by in these guys and the moments and what you do in the biggest moments, Kyrie Irving. I watched the last 3 minutes of that Game 7 finals between the Warriors and the Cavaliers when they
Sure.
won it with LeBron. And, Kyrie hits that big shot. Like, people remember that forever, Like, it was those moments. And he was such a polarizing player.
Mm-hmm.
But he also had the issue of injuries. But he has been a multi-time All-Star. Like, you got Rookie of the Year, NBA champ, Game 7 game winner. Like, that leaves an impact on people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I thought maybe you would say Dame. Again, Draymond is the oldest by a tiny little bit, but he can probably still stick around. I mean, his play style, he could probably be around several more years. Uh, Dame probably doesn't have a whole lot to add. Is probably not going to be able to add a whole lot. No offense to him, but just when is he going to even get back out on the court? Is it going to be for the start of next year? Maybe. And how
Yeah.
much is he going to have in the tank? That's that's the one tricky part with Dame is if it were 2 years ago before he ever got injured, I would say, well, sure, of course, I presume that he's going to. And now I'm a tiny bit less sure.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's a little bit um up in the air because those guys like that play behind that are in the same era as the guy, and the guy in this situation would be Steph Curry.
Of
But
course,
when you mentioned Tom Brady earlier in the show, who were those other guys that played in his era? Peyton Manning gets his respect, but Phillip Rivers, um, Carson Palmer, these different type of guys,
Matt Ryan, a little
Matt
bit.
Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt Ryan a little bit too. Even a guy like Aaron Rodgers, if you put it in football terms, like they were in that era of the guy, and I think Dame Lillard falls in that type of category.
Hmm.
Um, but he's been a very successful player. I think he may be an all-star one day, and like you said, we'll see if he can maybe add a nice ending to that career and doesn't go out the way that things are going right now. But um, we'll see what happens with Dame. I think he's had a great career that you can't argue.
Okay.
Weber State guy,
Yeah,
mid May.
that's right. Weber State legend.
Yeah, or is it Weber? People take offense to that. Well,
Listen, I say what I want and then I apologize later on. You know what I mean? Shoot first, ask questions later.
yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, and then they're always in the comments about it. All right. So that's virtual locked here. Once more, it looks like Luca, Kyrie Irving, Draymond Green, Dame Lillard, and I concede we move Kawhi up because, frankly, the defense between him and everybody else here, even Draymond, that's the kind of the number one determining factor. Plus the big games and the clutch factor puts him just a little bit above any of these other guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that it with virtual locks?
Well, I have one question about Luca that we didn't touch on him much. Is he a
That's
guy that's
true.
put enough skin in the game yet?
Okay.
I mean,
So, do
he
you
got
see
6-time
Luca
All.
as one of the top MVP options for this year? Because there's a lot of people that don't, and sports books don't, and those kind of things. And I'm like, well, what more does he have to do to a degree? Because he's probably going to win the scoring title.
Yeah, he has been to a finals. He took the Mavs to a finals. He maybe he does have enough skin in the game. Maybe
There's some fair other tiers if you wanted to talk about actually bumping Luca down. He's obviously way younger than these other guys, right? You're
yes.
talking Draymond's 36, and I think Dame's 35. Kawhi, it's right around there too. It's
Hmm.
so Luka way younger than any. Could you maybe as we get down to the next tier see if okay it makes a little bit more sense there?
Yeah, it's not that he like we're not saying he's not on the path
Right.
to being there because I fully believe he will be,
Hmm.
but it's just about the skin in the game. Kind of like the same conversation that people are having with Pat Mahomes right now, but
Yeah.
we're having, but these guys have maybe they have put it on. That's a nice part of the debate. You said 2-time scoring champ. Woo wee, that dude is a bucket.
Yeah, absolutely. That it's assuming that he wins it for this year. That looks likely. He's gonna butt up against the eligibility requirement like almost every superstar this year is, right? I mean, Jokic is in the same place, SGA is in the same place. Technically, even Wemby could, miss enough games to be ineligible. And so all of the actual best and most valuable guys in the league might just be ineligible because of the rules on the books. But
Yep.
I think if he's not top 3 in MVP voting, that would end up strange to me, probably,
Yeah, I
for
think
this year.
they love the teams that are at the top of the league, so it all
Yeah.
depends kind of on what the Lakers do as well. But um, he is he is one of those ones. He's a star. So
All right. We'll see maybe as we work down and see like, could he maybe go here and here too? Because again, much younger than the virtual lock tier, but that speaks to getting over here to the States young and dominating young.
well, we're on the close tier here.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, we got Paul George. I would love to hear your take on Paul.
It's sad what has become of him like others when they get to that point of their career. There's a time where you're just frankly kind of a shell if you play long enough. For some guys, it's 23 years, right?
Yeah,
And by that I mean for one guy, it's 23 years because no one else can play that long. For some guys, it's 10. For Paul George, now it's a little bit longer. 9-time All-Star, has always been a fantastic defender, is just kind of fading. You don't have to think about Paul George every night. Not anymore.
no, you don't. And I know he's been injured this season.
Of course.
And he's had the injuries in the past, that major injury playing, I think, for Team USA at the time. And it's just a shame that happens to a guy like that. But, he definitely has faded into the darkness and a little bit just in terms of skill on the court or impact on the court. The skill is always going to be there for these guys. But Paul is definitely, he is he's a good nomination. I think somebody could make an argument for him. And I think others could make an argument against.
Yeah, that's going to be a tricky one. And I think undeniably, because of what we've seen the last couple of years, not first ballot. So in the
Yeah.
close tier, ideally, you're talking about like one more big year and that would really put them in, or one more ring or something with the accolades, what have you. It's probably not that anymore for Paul George. Maybe things could have been different with less injuries and things, with more continuity, but I suspect that there's going to be people that want to hold him out because
Yeah.
he doesn't have the same impacts of the absolute best of this generation as he's stuck around now for 15 plus years. He just hasn't. If you tell me, okay, so Paul George versus Giannis right now, like what would that vote look like? Giannis is going to dominate that. It's not
Dominant.
close.
Yeah, not at all.
And that's even for a total career worth of impact, not like, oh, what did they do in their prime? What did they do for a couple of years stretch? Or what have they been doing recently? It doesn't matter. Giannis is going to dominate all that.
Yeah, Giannis, yeah, and these guys like Paul George, beat the odds. 15-year career in the NBA, as you stated, but
Yeah.
still, it's just those other type. There's levels. There's levels.
Yep. And so his contemporaries are going to probably hold him back. Speaking of his contemporaries, there's some good ones on this list. The rest of the close tier we have Joel Embiid. That's very tricky. We've got Jimmy Butler. We've got Klay Thompson and Anthony Davis.
Oof.
Look, we're going to have to take a break, I think, after this because this is going to be an exhaustive tier.
Yeah, these guys, but man, these guys are some when they're healthy, they are some game changers, especially Joel Embiid. Right, he's always been this talent out of Kansas, big body kid, and he really put it together. His shooting ability in the latter half of his career has really like elevated him as a player, and it's crazy to see these guys who've been in it. But you like we mentioned, if you mention Joel Embiid, you got to talk about the injury problems,
Yep.
and a guy like Klay Thompson though, could he not be up a tier? Because for the most part, he had to deal with that Achilles injury. But besides that, what did he have an ACL as well? I think him and Kevin Durant got hurt in the same finals.
Yeah, and there was the whole 2 year stretch. He didn't play at all in the bubble stuff, right? Yeah, I'm
But
looking at it. So you got on Basketball Reference. Shout out Basketball Reference and the people do just
shout out.
amazing work over there. 1920 and then 2021.
Yeah, that sucks. But man, when you talk about he's up there, he's mentioned as a top 5 shooter of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So could he be up a tier? Because like he's a 4-time champion, multiple time All Star, regarded as the second best shooter in the league for most of his career behind his backcourt mate Steph Curry. Klay Thompson for a long time there, 63 points off of what 7 dribbles.
Yeah, the
Dude is
like greatest
insane
shooting game of all time.
of all time. So
Yeah.
maybe he could be a guy that could be moved up a tier when you talk about those guys that have fluidity is the correct word in between the tiers.
I struggle to think that it would have been that way 10, 15 years ago, that would be so valuable to voters. And now, yeah, being the best shooter might mean that you're one of the most valuable on any given year. And then when you zoom out on a career for Clay of 13 years, I know what you mean. It's it's tough because he's not going out on the most amazing of notes. The whole Dallas thing is
Yeah,
kind of strange, right?
yeah.
He thought he should be a Warrior for life, like Draymond has still managed to hold on and be, but he's not, and he's just not doesn't have that same impact in Dallas.
No, he doesn't, and it's just like you think he could like match well with a young star like Cooper Flag and be that veteran that Cooper needs, to show him what it takes to win championships in the league, but he can't show him what it's like to play with Steph Curry. So there's only
Yep,
so much he can do.
yep. That is the I say the end of the close tier. I'm wondering if, when we get to the two young guys, if you're going to say, well, anybody's got to, this guy's got to be up there and whatnot. But we will see as we approach. Is Jimmy Butler as close as I think he is?
That's a great question.
I
Is he?
I'm stopping to think. Some of these I slapped down quite a while ago. I've had this idea in mind for a long time. I've wanted to get there. I don't know that Jimmy Butler's actually, now that I think about it and I glance over the numbers, as close as I thought he was.
We talked about moments with Kyrie. He's had some great moments with his time in Miami.
Of course.
The infamous practice story with Minnesota. He played really well with the Bulls for a while when he was younger, but his game wasn't as developed in Chicago. He really took off in Miami. Jimmy Butler is close, but I think no one would be mad at anyone if he wasn't there.
And Paul George has probably had a bigger impact on the league. I mean, Embiid is undeniably a better player. Anthony Davis is, a better player. That one's a little bit closer, but I think everybody else in this close tier has had, in some way, more of an impact on the game. Now that's going to get contentious, isn't it? Because there's arguments to be had.
There are.
Yeah.
What do you think about Anthony Davis if you deep dive into him? He's this guy, right, that was ultra talented coming out of Kentucky, one of the best college one and done seasons we've ever seen, and now, he's so far down the league, it's kind of dating us as people. We're getting older, we're getting up there, Tanner.
Don't
But
you remind me, buddy.
10-time All Star, like how many people have been 10 times or more All Star?
But you just expect him always to make it. You expect that for a mostly dying center position that he's going to dominate it. And you think back to the bubble, that was one of the most unbelievable performances defensively by anyone in the history of basketball. We've just rarely ever seen something like that. Led the league 3 times in blocks. It's nice. Of course, just the way that the center position has changed. It's like, yeah, well, it's not your centers of old, right? I mean, there aren't Hakeem Olajuwons and Shaquille O'Neals around anymore, but
No.
for what you need out of a modern center position, who's better than Anthony Davis? That's what I struggle with.
That's a really good question. Who
Because he's
is?
not the point center, right? I mean, yeah, we have point centers in the league now. Sabonis is disgusting. Jokic is the best, right, by leaps and bounds. And then when you want a true center, who's better than Anthony Davis?
That's a great question. He is those old school bigs you mentioned. He's the this day and age's version of that, and I'm with you. Like he's always been that guy from even when he was in New Orleans. What him and Boogie Cousins used to do together. It was just like he's a guy that's like, and he's multi versatile. He can guard he can almost guard 1 through 5 with his athleticism and length, and he's still a true back to the basket on the block center. The dude dunks on you. He's always been, like I said earlier, he's an ultra talented human being.
I don't know if I said that he won the Finals MVP there in the bubble. I know that wasn't right. Who did win it with? Was it LeBron again? Because he's won all of the MVPs for his Finals, right?
I believe so. Yeah, I think that's LeBron.
Yeah, that's a travesty. Frankly, I want that to be known here and now, and I want to submit that to the committee.
Yeah,
Frankly, because I've never seen defense like that. Like we've been watching basketball a long time, and I've never seen someone do what he did in the bubble as a guy who's like, am I a center? Kind of. Am I a 4? More so, yeah. And do I like playing the 4 and scoring a bunch of points? But the true center in him that shone through on that bubble finals, it just dropped my jaw.
yeah, and he is it's a memorable performance, and if it wasn't for his injury problems and his day-to-day availability throughout his career for the most part, I think you would have easily, when you made this list, would have put him in the virtual lock tier.
You would hope so, right?
Yeah.
So I think everybody stays there, and many of these guys, like you win, Embiid with another MVP, or Paul George finding some, late career surge and maybe joining a better team and winning a ring, or Jimmy Butler. I mean, it's still going to have a chance with the Warriors, right? So any of these guys could, with like another one major accolade, get in for sure and be in one of those locked tiers, right?
Yep. All it takes is one more moment in these guys' career, and as we see, we've mentioned multiple times throughout this conversation that these older guys are still producing at the highest level in a young man's game.
Mm-hmm.
So who's to say they can't happen for any one of these guys on the list?
Mm-hmm. And we still expect that most of them are gonna find a way in the hall eventually. Like you say, first ballot's probably not so many of them, but many of these guys are gonna be in.
Yeah, one day.
Yep.
The humanity has been left behind. And hang it in the Louvre. Fires for the end zone. Shore picked off. Ball game.